Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala nabiyyina kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. So our previous reading, we went over that of dealing with the establishment that Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab brought of the pillars or the foundations of that of worship, established in the first three ayats of Surah al Fatihah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, the establishment of love. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the establishment of hope. And Maliki Yawmiddin, the establishment of fear. And that the true believer, in that of dealing with the believer who establishes his tawheed and worship correctly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, makes his worship with these three elements. And the one who abandons one or two or all of them, then his worship is not to be considered that of correct worship and an aspect or a portion of misguidance. So here we will see that the Shaykh al-An, he goes into other aspects of dealing with the next part of the Fatiha, of dealing with, starting with Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'een. So here Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, he goes in Iyaka na'budu. He says that Iyaka na'budu, this ayah here, ay a'budaka ya Rabbi ma madha bihadihi thalatha. He says, I worship you, my Lord, O my Lord, with these things which have passed, from these three things which have passed, with my love, hope, and fear to you. So all of those things, love, fear, and hope, are all sincerely and solely directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَهَذِهِ ثَلَاثَ أَرْكَانَ الْعِبَادَةِ. So these three things are the pillars of worship. And to direct them to other than Allah is shirk. So he continues, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, وَفِي هَذِهِ ثَلَاثَ الرَّدْ عَلَى مَنْ تَعَلَّقْ بِوَاحِدَةٍ مِّنْهُنَّ كَمَنْ تَعَلَّقْ بِمَحَبَّةَ وَحْدَهَا. And then he shows that in these three is a refutation to those who connect to only one from them, such as those who only connect to love alone. So just worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with love, such as Shaykh Al-Fawzan highlighted, the Sufis. Or with hope alone, such as the Murji'ah, or with khawf alone, such as the Khawarij. So here Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan Hafidhullah, he says, Iyaka na'budu. So when the servant says, Iyaka na'budu, saying that we worship you with these three. Mahabba, wa khawf, wa raja. Because this is what actualized worship, because one cannot actualize worship except with them. So if one does not have love of something, one does not have fear of something, one does not have hope of something, then that aspect is not to be considered worship. So if you worship Allah without loving Allah, without having fear or hope in those aspects which was touched on earlier, then you are not actually even worshipping Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Ay bi majmu'a thalatha, with all three. So one must find and maintain that balance of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with love, hope, and fear. To do anything other than that is not to be considered that he is worshipping or properly worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as the Shaykh highlighted before, that it falls under that category of being misguidance. So he continues, وَمَنْ أَحَبْ غَيْرَ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ مُشْرِكٌ. And whoever loves other than Allah, then he is a mushrik. And whoever hopes from other than Allah, then he is a mushrik. And whoever fears other than Allah, then he is a mushrik. So here one must realize that and understand, to fear something which cannot bring any harm or cannot bring any good to you is shirk. Whoever hopes in something which cannot bring in a reward or save, this is shirk. And then as the Shaykh Hafidhullah highlighted earlier, to love along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something that is worshipped along with Allah, that this is also shirk. So he continues, Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, فَمَنْ صَرَفَ مِنْهَا شَيْئًا لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ مُشْرِكٌ وَفِيهَا مِنْ فَوَائِدٍ رد على الطوائف ثلاثة التي كل طائفة تتعلق بواحد منها كمن عبد الله تعالى بمحبة وحدها وكذلك من عبد الله برجاء وحده كالمرجئة وكذلك من عبد الله بخوف وحده كالخوارج. So here it's that, so whoever directs any form of these three to other than Allah, then he is a mushrik. And also in these ayats are benefits and refutation to the three groups from the groups which connect to only one form of worship from those three, such as the one who only worships Allah with love alone, as the Shaykh said, as the Sufiya. And likewise those who worship with only hope, such as the Murji'ah. And likewise those who worship with only fear, such as the Khawarij. So here Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan, he goes into that of Al-Murji'ah. The Murji'ah, سموا مرجئة لأنهم أرجأوا أعمال أي أخروها عن مسمى الإيمان. So the Murji'ah are named the Murji'ah is because they delay or remove the actions from the naming of Iman, of faith. So they say faith, that actions have nothing to do with a person's faith. That as long as you have that belief in your heart, no matter what, that you are maintaining that belief or you are maintaining faith. And that لِأَنَّ إِرْجَاء مَعْنَاهُ تَأْخِيرٌ. That irja in this is that of delayment or to delay. Just as Allah, or to remove. Just as Allah says, قَالُوا أَرْجِهْ وَأَخَاهُ. So the Mala of Fir'aun, the people, the council of Fir'aun with Musa and Harun, that they said to reject him, to turn him away and his brother. And they use the word arjih, to turn him away and his brother. يعني أخروا شأنه وانظر فيه. That, delay their affair or remove them from this affair and look into it. Because of the aspect of the miracle which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. فإرجاء معناه تأخير. سموا مرجئة لأنهم آخروا أعمال عن حقيقة الإيمان. So they are named this naming of murji'ah because they delay the actions or they remove the actions from the reality of faith. وآخروها من حقيقة الإيمان. And they, expel it or remove it. وأخرجوها. They expel it or remove it from the reality or the actualness of faith. And the Khawarij, Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan, so that is the title, that those who come and say that actions have nothing to do with faith. That basically if you sin, if you do a deed, if you don't do a deed, it has no effect or no weight when it comes to that belief. And this, as we know, contradicts what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in the Quran and what was established in the authentic sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And many on it was that zadatumul iman, and they increased in iman. So here Allah ta'ala establishes that it increases with good deeds and righteous good actions. And then likewise, anything which increases, it also must decrease. So here it's that of this group coming with this idea of removing the actions from iman is contrary to that which is revealed in Kitab wa Sunnah, and that is why they come to this name, Murji'ah. And as for the Khawarij, هم الذي خرجوا على الولاء المسلمين, that they are the ones who renegade against the leaders of the Muslims, وكفروهم, and they pronounce disbelief upon them. وهم يعتمدون على النصوص الوعيد, and they rely on all of the proofs of dealing with al-wa'id, that of like the severe threat and promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of the punishment. And they pronounce disbelief over the ones who do major sins. That is not in the category of shirk. And they say whoever dies upon that major sin, then he is mukhallid fin-nar, that he is everlasting in the hellfire. So here they come to say that you die upon a major sin, whichever that sin may be, from the major sins, excluding that of shirk, that you die in the state of disbelief, and in the hereafter you are from those who are in the hellfire forever. So likewise, misguidance of dealing with this particular group of the Khawarij. So based off of just the Fatiha, you expose the misguidance of three major groups that connect themselves to Islam. Just off the first three ayats of that of dealing with the Fatiha. So you negate that of the Sufiya, you negate that of the Murji'ah, or you refute that of the Murji'ah, and likewise you refute that of the Khawarij, those who remove the Muslims, the general Muslims as well as the leaders of the Muslims, from the fold of Islam because of a major sin, and rely solely on that of the ayats of, punishment and the likes of that. So a tremendous benefit in dealing with the aspects of realizing and actualizing the fundamental and the origins or the asas or the foundations of that which you are worship, of your worship. So here, the first three ayats, three groups have been refuted that connect themselves to that of Islam. So here Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, he continues, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ فِيهِ تَوْحِيدَ أُلُوهِيَّةِ وَتَوْحِيدَ رُبُوبِيَّةِ. So in this ayat we establish two aspects of a tawheed, uluhiyya wa rububiyyah. وَإِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ فِيهِ تَوْحِيدَ أُلُوهِيَّةِ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ فِيهِ تَوْحِيدَ رُبُوبِيَّةِ. So here Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan says, in the first portion, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ التوحيد ألوهية وهو إفراد الله بأفعال العباد الذي شرعها لهم. So it is to single Allah out with the actions of His servants. So the servant does actions solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here it's that the servant makes his forms of worship sincerely and solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which has been legislated for them. So here, dealing with that of the legislation, that he prays, when the servant prays and stands for prayer, that action of prayer is solely and only for Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, ifrad Allah. Likewise when he fasts, likewise when he gives charity, likewise when he loves, fear and hope, all of those actions are done solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. لأن ألوهية معناها عبادة, because ألوهية contains the meaning or has the meaning of worship. والعبادة من أفعال العباد, and ibadah is from the actions of the servant. وإياك نستعين فيه توحيد الربوبية. So إياك نستعين, this is containing the meanings of a توحيد الربوبية, and that is because aid من أفعال الرب, it is from the actions of the Lord. So who is the one that aids and assists and helps? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can help us, help us in doing what it is that we are seeking. وَالتَّوْحِيدُ الرُّبُوبِيَّةِ هُوَ تَوْحِيدُ اللَّهِ بِأَفْعَالِهِ. And Tawheed al-Rububiyyah is unifying or making Allah's actions solely for Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. He is the only one who created. So the action of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala creating is solely His action. It's not, nobody shares in that. Likewise that of cultivating that, likewise of providing, likewise helping His servants. Helping His servants maintain this. This is from the actions that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do. So إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, that when He established this, that He is establishing the two categories of a tawheed, uluhiyya wa rububiyyah, and that both are that of the singular or that of the solely directed or solely from the creation to the creator and the creator to the creation. So here the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, he says, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. So here is now in Surah al Fatihah, guide us to the straight way. Fiha rad ala mubtadi'een is a refutation to every evil innovator. So every evil innovator in the religion of Al-Islam, whoever introduces an affair that is not from the religion of Islam, that he is refuted with Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. So here, Ihdina Sirata al-Hidayah al-Naw'een. That Ihdina, when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayat, that guide us to the path, as it's here in that guidance has two types: Hidayat al-Dalala wa Irshad wa Dalalat al-Tawfiq wa Tasdeed. So you have guidance of direction, and then guidance of success, or successful guidance. So Dalala, Hidayah wa Irshad, that this takes place for all of creation. Every created being, human, receives this portion of Hidayah. So this is to the mu'min, as well as the kuffar and the mushrikeen. So the guidance of showing that way, or making clear that way, this is given to all of mankind. Because Allah is showing them and guiding them to the way of the truth. But the kuffar, they do not accept this guidance. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says, وَأَمَّا الثَّمُودُ فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ فَاسْتَحَبُّوا عَمَا عَلَى الْهُدَى. So here Allah Ta'ala is saying, for as for Thamud, we have showed them the way, but they love to remain blind over that of being guided, or guidance. فَاسْتَحَبُّوا عَمَا عَلَى هُدَى. So what did Allah say? فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ. How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ? That He showed them what was the truth. He showed them and made clear the call of His messengers. And they what? They choose to be misguided and rejected the guidance. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided the people of Thamud by showing them the truth. But they did what? They rejected it. They said, no, we don't want it. So this is what ad-dalala, hidayat ad-dalala wa irshad. Making clear the proofs and evidences, being shown the proofs and evidences, having the messengers bring those proofs and evidences, but they reject. This is the kuffar. So this is for all of mankind, that they receive this portion of direction or clarity. So here Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan says, Hadaynahum, in dealing with the ayat, وَأَمَّا الثَّمُودُ فَهَدَيْنَاهُم, يعني بَيَّنَّا لَهُم, that we made clear to them. فَاللَّهُ حَدَى جَمِيعَ خَلْقِ هِدَايَةَ بَيَانْ وَإِرْشَادٍ. So He made clear to all of creation, clarity and guide, direction. So here it's that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this clear, but the kuffar, they rejected. The mushrikeen, they rejected. But now as for tawfiq, the second type, hidayat al-tawfiq wa qabul al-haq. That of being guided and successfully accepting that truth. وَهَذَا خَاص بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ. This is only specifically for the believers. فَأَنْتَ تَسَرَ اللَّهِ نَوْعِينَ هِدَايَةً. So when you say اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, you are asking Allah to guide you to these two, to make that clear, and then to give you the success to what? Accept that clarity and that truth, and then to remain upon it. So this is what you are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you say ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, okay, you accept Islam. Alhamdulillah, that's part. You being thankful to Allah for that. But now, to make clear to you what is correct from incorrect. And then when it becomes clear, that you remain upon that correctness and you accept it. This is the reality of the Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. As for the statement Mustaqim, يعني mu'tadil, just, straight. وَصِرَاطَ اللَّهِ مُسْتَقِيم, and the path of Allah is straight. يعني معتدل بخلاف الطرق الضلالة, as contrary to that of the ways of misguidance. For verily they are crooked and munharifa, they're off the mark. They are not straight. That those who take them will be lost, or they lose the people who take them. As for Sirat Allah, فَهُوَ وَاضِحْ مُعْتَدِلْ. As for the path of Allah, that it is clear and straight. So the paths of misguidance, the path of, crookedness, that, they go left, right, they go all over, they're winding and the likes of that. That, if you take that path, eventually it will lose you. You will become lost. But as for the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it is clear and straight. So, ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, asking for you to be guided to that straight way, and then to keep upon that straight way by accepting that truth and remaining upon that truth, because it is clear and straight. So, men sara alay afdha bihi ila jannah. And whoever takes that he will be, exposed and placed and put into Jannah. That it will direct him directly into the Jannah. Allah says, وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ فَاتَّبِعُوا وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ. So he says that this is my way, my straight way, so follow it. And do not follow the other ways that will separate you or remove you from my straight way. And that's in Surah Al-An'am, where he establishes those aspects of a tawheed, being obedient to the parents and the likes of that, in dealing with those aspects. So he says, وَأَنَّ هَذَا الصِّرَاطُ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ فَاتَّبِعُوهُ. So you ask Allah, فَأَنْتَ تَسَرَ اللَّهِ أَنْ يَهْدِيَكَ هَذَا الصِّرَاط. That you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show and make clear, and then also to accept this straight way, this path. So it's an aspect of being asked to be shown that direction, and then to accept it when it becomes clear to you. And that ayah is in Surah Al-An'am, ayah 153. So here, as for the ayatan akhiratan, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, he says, as for the last two ayats, فَفِيهِمَا مِنْ فَوَائِدْ ذَكَرَ أَحْوَالَ النَّاسِ, that he mentions the conditions of the people. قَسَمُوهُمَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى ثَلَاثَةُ الْأَنصَافِ مُنْعَمْ عَلَيْهِ وَمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِ وَالضَّالِ. Those who have received favor and bounty, those whom Allah is angry with, or those whom that are recipients of that anger, and those who are misguided. So firstly, al-maghdubi alayhim. The Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, we'll stop there for a second, and then we'll read what Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan, then go into maghdubi alayhim. So he says he's divided into three groups. Those who receive the bounty, those who receive anger, and those who are misguided. So here, an-nas imma mun'am alayhim, that they receive virtue and bounty and favor. And as for those, or that they are angry, with, that Allah is angry with them, recipients of anger, or they are misguided. So those who receive bounty, mun'am alayhim, they are the ones who take knowledge and action. So they have knowledge, they seek knowledge, they memorize knowledge, they understand knowledge, but then they act in accordance. They act with that knowledge. This is the one who receives the bounty and virtue. And as for the one who receives the anger, they are the ones who take knowledge, but they abandon action. أخذوا علم وتركوا عمل. And as for the misguided, ضالون, they are the ones who take action, but they abandon knowledge. So you see, it revolves around these three: knowledge, action. Those who receive bounty, those who receive, the bounty of Allah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're the ones who do the action. They have the knowledge, and they act in accordance to that knowledge. And as for those who receive Allah's anger, that they have knowledge, but they do not have action. And as for those who are misguided, they have action, but they do not have knowledge. So you, أنت تسأل الله أن يجعلك مع منعم عليهم, that you ask Allah to make you from those who receive His virtue and bounty, and to protect you and remove you from that way of those who receive His anger, or the way of the misguided, ضالين. وهذه سورة عظيمة, and this is a tremendous chapter. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory upon you في كل ركعة. لماذا؟ لأجل ما فيها من هذه أسرار. Because of what it contains, or the purpose of what it contains, from many wisdoms. So here you have this aspect of this tremendous surah. Look at what the Muslim achieves from that of just Surah al Fatihah. And then the mercy of Allah that it is obligatory upon us to recite it in every raka'ah of every prayer. That it's not just something of, a one-time thing where you are constantly, as long as you have your soul in your body, that you are turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ask for these bounties and to protect you from these harms. And that's tawheed. That's what it boils down to, that of being a muwahid. Constantly having that worship with love, hope, and fear, supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking the guidance and the success from Allah, and then likewise the ability to achieve beneficial knowledge as well as righteous good actions. What else is there after that? If we maintain that alone, if we understand that alone, that we achieved a great success. So here, the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, he says, فَالْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ لَيْسَ مَعَهُمْ عَمَلٍ. So here, Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan, he says, وَهُمْ يَهُودٌ وَمَنْ سَارَ مَعَهُمْ. He says they are the Yahud, the Jews, and those who go with them. So there are the ones who learn, but do not act with their knowledge. So from this nation. So you have the Jew, the Yahud, but then those from this nation who learn, ta'allam wa lam ya'mal bi ilmihim. They learn, but they do not act with their knowledge. وَالضَّالُونَ أَهْلِ الْعِبَادَةِ لَيْسَ مَعَهُمْ عِلْمٍ. That there are people of worship, but they do not have knowledge. So here Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan says, مِنْهُمْ الصُّوفِيَّةِ مُبْتَدِعَةِ وَمُخَرِّفُونَ كُلُّهُمْ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي الضَّالِينَ. Such as, from them is the evil innovation of the Sufiya. All of them enter into the category of misguidance, because they busy themselves with worship and they abandon knowledge. And they claim and they say that knowledge busies us or takes us away from action. So these individuals, they have that aspect of love only, that they just busy themselves with action with absolutely no knowledge. That these individuals come from the category of dhalun or dhalin. So here you come to say that when you say غَيْرَ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِينَ, to protect you and to save you and to remove you from this idea of worshiping you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without knowledge. Let me worship you, let me have that success of worshiping you, but let it be supported with knowledge, not like the Sufis or the Nasara or the likes of that. So Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, وإذا كان السبب النزول في يهود والنصارى فهي كل من اتصف بذلك. Even though the reason for the revelation is that of Yahud والنصارى فهي لكل من اتصف بذلك. For it is for everyone who is described with that. With that description of what? Either having knowledge and not acting, or having action but no knowledge. So Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan, إن كان السبب النزول المغضوب عليهم في اليهود والضالين في النصارى فالعبرة بعموم اللفظ لا بخصوص السبب. So he says that even though that they were revealed in for those two categories, al-Yahud wal-Nasara, that the lesson is in the generalness of the word and not the specificness of the reason. So generally, maghdubi alayhim. What is that description that brings forth Allah to be angry with them? That it is like the Jew, and the Jew has what? Knowledge but no action. Wad-dallin, that they have action but no knowledge. So the description of the Nasara is that they worship but they do not have knowledge. So whoever has that description, that's what the benefit is regarded as the love. The maghdubi alayhim, if you have that description, that it is not for just the Jew nor the Christian, but anybody who takes the characteristic of having knowledge and not acting, or having action but no knowledge. And this is why some of the Salaf said that when you see corruption in our ulama, فَفِيهِ شُبْهَ مِنَ الْيَهُودِ, that if you see corruption from the scholars, from the people of knowledge, that verily it is a resemblance to the Yahud. And if you see a corruption in our worshippers, that in it is a resemblance to that of the Nasara. So you see an individual worshipping night and day and night, but he has no knowledge, he has no understanding of the religion, he has a resemblance of that of a Christian. And then likewise a scholar who has knowledge, he has possession of knowledge, but he does not have any action behind that knowledge, that he has a resemblance of a Yahud. And then the third one, من اتصف بعلم وعمل هم منعم عليهم. Those who are described with knowledge and action, they are the ones that are recipients of Allah's bounty, or the bounty. So here Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan, he says, قال الله تعالى ومن يطيع الله ورسوله فأولئك مع الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك الرفيقا. هؤلاء هم منعم عليهم. So you have those who obey Allah and His Messenger, they are the ones that will receive the bounty of Allah from the prophets, the truthful, the martyrs, as well as the righteous. So these are the ones that receive Allah's bounty. فَإِذَا أَرَدْتَ أَن تَكُونْ مَعَهُمْ فَاجْمَعْ بَيْنَ عِلْمٍ النَّافِعِ وَعَمَلُ الصَّالِحِ. So if you want to be with them, then make harmony between beneficial knowledge and righteous good deeds. So here, مَنْ يُطِيعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, and they are the ones that are with those who receive the bounty. So the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab continues, وَفِيهَا مِنْ فَوَائِد. So in this chapter there is a benefit, تَبَرَّؤُ مِنْ حَوْلِ وَالْقُوَّةِ لِأَنَّهُ مُنْعَمْ عَلَيْهِ. That, to be removed from any might or power, because he is the receiver of that bounty. So you have, no ability, basically, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is giving you that bounty, not you. You don't have the ability. It's the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gives you that bounty. So here the Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan, وَذَلِكَ فِي قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ وَفِيهِ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ وَقَوْلُهُ إِهْدِنَا. So basically, what are you doing? You're saying, look, I have no ability to do these things. I have no might to do these things. You are the one that does it. I am asking you to help me with these things. لأن هذا فضل من الله ليس بحولك ولا بقوتك. Because this favor is from Allah, and it is not from your ability or your might. Or the success, لِعِلْمٍ النَّافِعِ التوفيقك لِعِلْمٍ النَّافِعِ. That your success is because of beneficial knowledge. وَتَوْفِيقك لِعَمَلَ بِعِلْمٍ is acting in accordance with that knowledge. هذا من Allah. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لو شاء ربك, that you would have been from those, if your Lord wanted, that you would have been from those who maghdubi alayhim, that received the anger, or from the misguided. So the one who bestowed his bounty upon you and removed you from these two groups and made you with the prophets and the truthful and the martyrs, it is Allah Jalla wa Ala. This is not with your might, or this is not with your ability, nor with your might. وَإِنَّمَا بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ. And that verily it is only that of the favor of Allah. So here you are recognizing your weakness, that you have no ability or no might of any of those things unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you that success and grants you that ability to get knowledge, beneficial knowledge, and act in accordance to that. And if Allah ever at any given time wanted, He can make you from maghdubi alayhim or dhaleen. So the fact that He removed you from it, that it increases us in shukr and being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and keep on trying to achieve and seek guidance and seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as it's إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, and then اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. So all of that is showing and proving the weakness of mankind and the strength and the might and the ability of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. وكذلك فيها معرفة الله على تمام ونفي نقائص أن تباركه وتعالى. Likewise is that of awareness or knowledge of Allah completely, that He is complete على تمام, and to negate any deficiency from Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to know and have awareness that He is perfect and complete, and to negate any deficiencies or anything of that nature from Him. So Shaykh Saalih al-Fawzan says, هذه السورة إذا تأملتها وتدبرتها عرفت الله على تمام بأسمائه وصفاته ونعمه عليك فيزيدك هذا الإيمانا ويقينا. So if you contemplated and focused on this chapter, that you would know Allah ala tamam, like perfectly, with His names, His perfect names and lofty descriptions, with the bounty which He has bestowed, or the favor which He has bestowed upon you, that this would increase you with iman, with belief and certainty, or faith and certainty. And then also in it is awareness or knowledge of insan rabbah, وَمَعْرِفَةَ نَفْسِهِ, that he knows himself. You know, that the person who says it, he's aware of his deficiencies. He's aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has all the might. So Shaykh Saalih al-Fawzan says, مَعْرِفَةَ نَفْسَكَ أَنَّكَ الضَّعِيفُ, that you know that yourself, that you are weak, and that you know that you are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is because you recite this chapter and repeat it in every unit, لِأَنَّكَ بِحَاجَتِي إِلَيْهَا, because you are in need of it, in need of this recitation. لِأَنَّ فِيهَا هَذَا الدُّعَاء عَظِيمٌ الَّذِي إِذَا تَقَبَّلَهُ اللَّهُ مِنْكَ, that in it is in this tremendous supplication, that if Allah accepts it from you, that you are happy in this life and in the hereafter. and that if you are heedless about it, and that you do not تستعملوه فإنه لا ينفعك بشيء, that it does not benefit you anything. So the one who, is heedless of the meanings, heedless of the contemplation, does not try to expand and contemplate and understand the meanings of this chapter, that verily it will not have any benefit for him in this life or in the hereafter. So the importance of that you understand that we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, that He is the one that can give us this success. So to repeat it and have a constant reminder in every rak'ah of every prayer, and that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it from us, that we have achieved great happiness and great success. So the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, he continues, فَإِنَّهُ إِذَا كَانَ الرَّبُّ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مَرْبُوبٍ وإذا كان هنا راهم فلا بد من مرحوم وإذا كان هنا مالك فلا بد من مملوك وإذا كان هنا عبد فلا بد من معبود. So here he's saying that verily, if there is a Rabb, then there must be something that is, marboob. If there's a Rabb, a creator, a sustainer, a maintainer, a possessor, there must be a creation, a recipient of these, things, a marboob. I don't know how they properly translate marboob. Like a creation. If there is a creator, a Rabb, then there must be a recipient of the one. So if you say a Rabb, that there is, a creation, a recipient of creation, or a creation, recipient of provision, of cultivation, of providing and the likes of that, maintaining and the likes of that. So if there's a Rabb, there has to be a marboob. وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا رَاهِمْ, if there's one that has mercy, there must be a recipient of that mercy. فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مَرْحُومٍ. And if there is a malik, then there must be a mamluk. If there is a possessor, then there must be one that is possessed. وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا عَبْدٍ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مَعْبُودٍ. If there is a servant, slave, that there must be something that is worshipped, or possessor of that slave. So here we have a lot of, so here it says, that's what was the kalam of Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab. And the explanation point by point that we go back, فَإِنْ كَانْ فَإِنَّهُ إذا كان الرب فلا بد من مربوب رب العالمين يدل على أنه لا بد من رب خالق ومن مخلوق مربوب مخلوق لرب رب العالمين. That it shows and it proves that it is imperative of there being a Rabb, Khaliq, a Lord and a Creator, that there is a creation, marboob, that is created. That if one has that, there has to be an effect of that name. Basically, what it is, I'm getting stuck on marboob. Anybody have something for marboob? Proper wording for it. Makhluq marboob. That he's a recipient of Rabbil Alameen. So makhluq li Rabbil Alameen. That it is a creation because of the Lord of Alameen. So basically it's an affirmation of the Creator, a rububiyyah, because why? There is a creation. So if we have a creation, there has to be what? A creator, a Rabb. If there's a provider, if we're receiving provision, there has to be a provider. Who is that? Rabbul Alameen. If there is someone controlling the universe and maintaining all of that, and we see the maintenance of it, there has to be what? One who is doing that. So the creation is from the effects of what? Rabbul Alameen. So marboob is maybe one of those words that is left as marboob. But it's that of the creation. So when you see marboob, it's the creation. And then, as for the next one, وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا رَاهِمْ فَلَا بُدْ مِنَ الْمَرْحُومِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ إِذَا كَانَ هُنَاكَ رَاهِمْ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مَرْحُومٍ. So if there's one who will have mercy, there must be a recipient of that mercy. وَهُوَ مَخْلُوق, and that is the creation. الرَّاحِمْ هُوَ اللَّهُ وَمَرْحُومْ هُوَ مَخْلُوق, and the one receiving that mercy is the creation. And as for the next one, وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا مَالِكْ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مَمْلُوكٍ, and if there is a Maliki Yawm al-Din, إِذَا كَانَ هُنَا مَالِكْ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مَمْلُوكٍ وَهُمْ عِبَادٌ وَجَمِيعُ مَخْلُوقَاتٍ, and they are all of the servants and all of the creation. And then وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا عَبْدٌ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مَعْبُودٍ, meaning إِذَا كَانَ هُنَا عَبْدٌ لَا بُدْ أَنْ يَكُونَ هُنَاك مَعْبُودٌ وَهُوَ اللَّهُ subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we see ourselves as servants, that there must be something that is worshipped from us, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فلا بد أن يكون معبود وهو الله سبحانه وتعالى. وإذا كان هنا هاد فلا بد من مهدي. So if there's one, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, إذا كان هناك هاد وهو الله فهناك مهدي وهو عبد. So if Allah is the one who guides, there must be a what? Recipient of, or the receiver of that guidance, and that is the servant. وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا مُنْعِمْ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مُنْعَمْ عَلَيْهِ, and if there is one who bestows bounty, there must be a recipient. وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا مَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ غَاضِبٍ, and if there is one who receives his anger, there must be one who becomes angry. So he says, غَيْرَ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ هُمْ يَهُودٌ وَمَنْ سَارَ, who takes their way. They are the Jew and the one who takes their way. Those who learn but do not act. That there must be لَا بُدْ أَنْ يَكُونْ هُنَاكَ غَاضِبٌ وَهُوَ اللَّهُ. There must be one who is angry, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَغَضَبْ مِنْ صِفَاتِهِ, and anger is from his description. فَهُوَ يَغْضِبْ, so he becomes angry. وَيَسْخَطْ, and he becomes extreme, like his wrath, he has wrath. And hatred, يَمْقِتْ. وَالْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِ وَمَمْقُوتْ وَمَسْخُوتْ عَلَيْهِ هو مخلوق عاصي المخالف لأوامر الله. So the one who receives all that, they are the creation who is disobedient and contradicting the commands of Allah. وَإِذَا كَانَ هُنَا ظَالٍ فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ مُضِلٍ. So just as it is being laid out, that if we come to affirm these aspects, one goes with the other. That if we have a provider, a creator, maintainer, and we know that because we have creation, provision, and the likes of that, there must be one who's done it. And then likewise down the line, if you see the sequence of that, you see the sequence of what the Shaykh Hafidhullah is trying to do and establish that of this different descriptions and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if it's this, there must be that. We can't affirm one and deny the other. So if we have that, then there has to be this. From the beginning of what it was, from the beginning of what Shaykh Muhammad Abdul-Wahhab brought, from that of Rabb to Marbub, to Rahim to Marhum, to that of Malik to Mamluk, all the way up until the end of Al-Dhal Falabud min Mudhal. So if there is one who misguides, there must be one that receives this misguidance. So here the Shaykh Hafidhullah, he closes out, فهذه السورة تتضمنت ألوهية وربوبية ونفي النقائص عن الله عز وجل وتضمن معرفة عبادة وأركانها والله أعلم. So he says that this chapter contains ألوهية وربوبية and negation of any deficiency from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan Hafidhullah, he says, just as it preceded, كما سبق أن فيها أنواع التوحيد الثلاثة. It contains the three categories of التوحيد, which are at-tawheed al-rububiyyah, uluhiyyah, wa asma wa sifat, and the negation of any deficiency or uyub and Allah. Imperfection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهَذَا هُوَ التَّوْحِيدِ. This is what is التوحيد. وتضمن معرفة عبادة وأركانها. And the Shaykh وفيها محبة ما تذلل والرجاء وخوف. فهذه أركان عبادة. So in it is love with submission, hope and fear. These are the pillars of worship. And then Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa jaza'allahu khairan ala ma bayyana wa wada'. So he sends salutations upon our Prophet Muhammad and ask Allah to reward him for what he made clear. Bayyan wa wada'. So here it's that of the end of the treaty of dealing with the benefits of Surah al Fatihah, and one who contemplates at it, that it negates every aspect of doubt that an individual might have from that of dealing with the aspects of a tawheed, aspects of a aqidah, and likewise the aspects of minhaj, of dealing with misguided groups or the likes of that. For verily it is a general, even though it has specific means of revelation, that the meanings of it holding a general aspect of dealing of maghdubi alayhim wal dhalin, that you do not want to be from those groups of misguidance, asking Allah to make clear and keep you upon the sirat al-mustaqim. Likewise, to aid you in that aspect of worship, that I want to iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, that I want to single my acts of worship solely to you, but what can only happen is if you help me. Iyaka nasta'in, that only you can help me do this. So having submission, understanding the deficiencies of mankind, and that verily surrendering and submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Rabb, the Rahim, the Malik, all of those things which is made clear in this particular chapter, Surah al Fatihah, from the many benefits and many wisdoms which are achieved from that of understanding the meanings of these particular words. So here we close out, and we like again to extend and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to come together and benefit and complete this reading of this small little risala. And then likewise for the brothers coming out as well as the sisters, and achieving benefit achieving benefit from this important understanding of Surah al Fatihah. So when he stands or she stands to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his prayer, he has a better or she has a better understanding of that which is being meant by Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now you can contemplate over what this means. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. What is this entailing? Maliki Yawmiddin. Now what is all of these things entailing and dealing with the aspect Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. The sequence of these understandings and these clarities which Shaykh Muhammad Abdul-Wahhab brought, as well as the explanation of that which Shaykh Saalih Al-Fawzan brought, are tremendous and priceless to a Muslim who stands and worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we, like the Shaykh mentioned, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it in the scales of these two great scholars, imams, in their scales of good deeds, Yawm al-Qiyamah, for bringing clarity to the laymen such as ourselves, and having a better and more precise understanding of the religion of Al-Islam, and any mistakes which has occurred from myself of pronunciation or translation, then I seek, forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and clarity can be brought. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those who, when we hear these recommendations and admonishments and advices, that we follow them, and protect us from everything which will pull us away from them, from these beneficial reminders and the likes of that, and beneficial knowledge and righteous good deeds. So we will conclude here. Ilahuna subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdihi ashhadu an la ilaha illallah astaghfirullah atubu ilayh.